While honeymooning in Maine, my wife and I stopped in the picturesque town of Booth Bay on a particularly dreary and rainy day. Since our planned picnic was out of the question, we sought shelter in a dilapidated little antique store near the harbor. While my wife inspected the large chests and side tables near the door, I eagerly examined the antique tools and seafaring equipment inside the glass sales counter at the back. Being a collector of optics and mariner's instruments, I hoped to find an old leather-bound telescope. A particularly interesting piece caught my eye. It appeared to be a heavy brass flashlight bearing a worn brown patina but remarkably modern in design. I asked the shopkeeper, but all he could tell me was it was found in the same old sailor's chest as several of the compasses on display. He inquired as if I would like to purchase it for $5, or perhaps have it for free. It's worthless to me. Nobody wants it. When I remarked about the price, he sighed wearily and then reached into the cabinet and retrieved it for me. Here, see for yourself, feller. The craftsman was wonderful, quite durable and apparently handmade, perhaps originating from somewhere in Europe. Worn lettering indicated it may be from Germany or perhaps Austrian in origin. I twisted the bulb housing and a weak red beam swept out. Poking it into the dark corner of the shop, I was greeted with fantastic monotone swirls, moving and entwining with each other like a pit of eels. I stared at it further into the unusual projector kaleidoscope. My fanciful mind invented ghoulish faces and gnarled tendrils. Shutting the device off, I turned excitedly to the shopkeeper. "Fantastic," I said. "I must have an oil filter of sorts in front of the lens. I have 2 Victorian kaleidoscopes, but none of them are illuminated like this." "You don't get it, do you?" "Nobody gets it. They all come back to return it after a while." The shopkeeper leaned on the counter, and all I could see that he was breathing heavily and perspiring. "They all think it's some sort of trick, till they start seeing it when the light's off." "That ain't no projection, mister. That damn thing, that light, it ain't making up those creatures. It's just letting your eyes see what's already there." My name is Masha and I'm 16 years old. I live in a small town in Russia. My father doesn't make a lot of money and my family isn't very wealthy. There are a lot of things we can't afford. One of those things is internet. One day, while I was in school, one of my friends told me she had heard about a new service that gets you free internet. She said all you had to do was connect to their network, which was called free Wi-Fi, and then you could browse the internet to your heart's content without having to pay a thing. It sounded almost too good to be true. That evening when I got home, I decided to try it out. I opened up my laptop and searched for the network called free Wi-Fi. The signal was excellent, so I selected it and clicked connect. My internet browser popped up and a black background with sinister red letters. There was a message. "Welcome to free Wi-Fi. Thank you for visiting. We don't require any payment. We don't require any registration. All we ask is for some basic information about our visitors. Please answer the following question." There were 4 pictures on the page: a bus, a boat, a train, and a plane. Underneath there was a question. "What is your usual mode of transportation?" I cycled to school. My father didn't own a car and we could never afford to go anywhere on holiday. I didn't use any of those modes of transportation, so I just chose the train at random and clicked on it. A thank you message appeared on the screen, and then I was able to browse the internet. I was delighted. This was the answer to all my problems. Now I could set up a Facebook account and keep in touch with my friends on Twitter and Instagram. The next day, however, as I watched TV, the show was interrupted by a breaking news alert. The local news reporter was saying that there had been a terrible accident. A train had derailed and come off the tracks just as it was crossing a bridge. Several carriages plunged into the river below, and almost everyone on board had been killed. I was horrified. That's when I remembered the website I had visited the night before. I had selected the picture of the train. I tried to tell myself it was just a coincidence. I mean, what would have happened if I chose the picture of the plane? Would there have been a plane crash the next day? The idea was ludicrous. That evening I needed to use the internet again. I connected to the free Wi-Fi network, and again the same page popped up. This time, though, the question was different. There were 4 pictures of houses: a bungalow, a 2-story house, a 3-story house, and an apartment building. Underneath in big red sinister letters was the question: which type of house do you live in? My family lives in a bungalow, and I was about to choose that option when I stopped myself. My finger hovered over the mouse button, but I couldn't click it. What if my suspicions were true? I wondered. It was a silly thought, but I couldn't just take that chance. Instead, I clicked on the apartment building just to be safe. A thank you message flashed on the screen, and I was able to connect to the internet again. The next day, the apartment building near my school burned down. Luckily, the fire had happened during the day, so most people weren't home. About 20 people perished in the blaze. The police say they suspected arson. I was worried. It was starting to seem like more than a coincidence. No matter how crazy it seemed, I had a sneaking suspicion that somehow the free Wi-Fi was causing all these tragedies. I decided that I would be better off if I just left it alone. However, that night I began to doubt myself. The more I thought about it, the sillier it seemed. Was I just being paranoid? How could connecting to a free Wi-Fi network result in the death of over 100 people? Who would ever believe such a thing was possible? After mulling it over for almost an hour, I was convinced it was just an insane coincidence. I took out my laptop, turned it on, and connected to the free Wi-Fi. My internet browser opened again. There were 4 more pictures. When I saw them, I let out a gasp of horror. The pictures were of my mother, my father, my little sister, and myself. Underneath, in big sinister red letters, was the question: which of these is your favorite family member? If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.